What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Dana here. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Dana and I'm a real estate wholesaler and investor out of Arizona. I buy and sell properties, and I buy and sell contracts, and I resell on the side. So some of my other videos might be about reselling on eBay and Amazon. This video is about my first ever PPL deal and how I made my biggest assignment fee yet. So if you're interested in hearing how I made 30 grand from one phone call, then stick around, because hopefully this will be a good video for you. This will be another one in the series of deal stories. So I've already got 3 or 4, get out of here, whatever. I've got 3 or 4 videos up on the series right now of deals from start to finish, how I found the deal, how I negotiated the deal, where I found the buyer, all that fun stuff. This will be another one in that series. So if you want to hear some other stories, check out other videos on the playlist on the channel. And if you want to connect, JV a deal, have me look at something, there's links down in the description to my Instagram, to free leads or bonus leads, to any of these providers that I use to find the deals like this one. So the one that I'm going to talk about today, this is my first ever PPL lead. PPL is pay per lead. My 3 favorite providers, again, links down in the description: Ispeedtolead, Leadzolo, and propertyleads. And again, there's different prices and different packages with each one of them. Check them out in the description if that's something that you want to do versus cold calling. I'm not a cold caller. I'm not a fan of that. But this way, the person fills out a lead online. They filled out an ad that one of these companies ran and said, hey, I want to sell my house. And then I get the lead. I paid $79 for this lead. And I called the guy, and it had some basic information. It had bed bath count. It had square foot. It had that it needed basic rehab, and it had an asking price. Guy was asking $125,000 for his property, and then it kind of gave me the quick rundown. I pulled up the comps on the property real quick before I called him. The Zillow estimate, at least the Zestimate, said it was worth around 185, and so I was like, okay, 185. He wants 115 or 125. Maybe there might be a deal to be had here. Let's see. So I called the guy. We had a quick conversation, and I said, well, tell me a little bit more about the property. What have you got going on? And he said basically that it needs basic repairs. He's been living there for 10 years. And it had maybe a 10-year-old roof at the time when he moved in. So he said it's probably on the last 10 years of its roof. It needs, flooring to taste. It needs minor repairs, basically. It was like, it's pretty easy rehab. And I was like, okay, well, that's interesting, right? The less rehab, the higher we can pay, or maybe the bigger profit that we can make on the deal. So it just kind of depends which way that you're going to go with it. And I said, one of my favorite lines I always like to use is, if I was covering all the closing costs and things like that, is there a better price, or do you have a better price in mind? And he said, well, yeah, I could probably come down to, well, hang on. I'm going to try something and see if you can hear this. So let's see if we can play part of the conversation.
Gotcha. Okay. And you're looking to sell in the next month or 2, or potentially sooner?
I'm actually not in a very big hurry. If I'm looking to sell it, but I'm not in a hurry. I'll put it on the market. I've not talked to a real estate agent or anything yet.
Gotcha. So if we came to an agreement on a number, would a 30-day close be too soon, or would you be preferring later?
I'm not in a hurry. I could close on it 30 days, or I could close on it later.
Gotcha. You got plans on where you're going next?
Yeah, I'm moving in with my fiance.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In Corbin there still, or are you moving far away?
Well, about 30 miles.
Gotcha. And so is the price that you have on there factoring in, I see the asking price you put on there, is that factor in no agent commissions, and if we're covering all the closing costs and, no repairs, any of that fun stuff?
I could be flexible on that. I've got the rest of the mortgage to pay off and stuff like that, but
Gotcha.
But I'm a little flexible in the price. So
if you had a number in mind, what's your kind of bottom dollar that you're thinking?
The very bottom price would probably be around 95.
Gotcha.
So anyways, hopefully that worked fine and you heard that okay. And if not, I don't know, maybe I'll edit it in somehow. But so he said he went from 125 down to 95 just from that question. And I was like, if we're covering the closing costs and, no repairs for you and no agent commissions and all that stuff, what's your bottom dollar? 95. So 30 grand down, bam, just like that, from asking that question. And I was like, oh man, at 95, this is a deal, right? I know it's a deal. If it's worth 180, he's telling me it's minimal repair. I switched my thought process at that point from, hey, I'm going to wholesale this to, I think I might just flip it myself. Because there's such a big spread here. If I can close on it for 95 plus closing costs, so maybe 97, 98, and I can put 10 grand into it and then flip it for 180, that's a pretty good deal. And so I started with that mentality. I sent him the contract. He signed the contract. We started the process, and I said, okay, first things first, I need to get an agent to go in and get some photos for me and give me an opinion on value. Because my intention at that point was, I'm not even going to wholesale it. I'm going to flip it. So I called an agent and I called a broker, and the broker said, hey, talk to this guy. He's one of my agents. He'll go out there for you. That guy went out there, took pictures for me, pictures and video, sent me all the stuff. And he said, yeah, I think 180, 190 is probably about where this sells. If you do all the rehab that it needs to it needs a little bit, but it's not terrible. And I was like, okay, sweet. So got the photos for free from the agent who went out there and gave his opinion with the intention that I would just use him to list it when I went to list it. And then I paid for a whole property inspection. It was like $900 for a property inspection to have an inspector go out and check the electrical, the plumbing, sewer scope, the roof, all that stuff. Because again, would you do that on a normal wholesale? You wouldn't pay that on a normal wholesale. But since I was intending to flip it myself, I needed to see, was I missing something? Was it like, why was he willing to sell it so cheap? I know getting to move in with your fiance, but that's a pretty big difference. And so I had to pay the property inspector to go out, and he determined the roof was already actively leaking. Like there was holes in the roof where the nails had gone through, and it was seeping in. So it wasn't like rushing water, but when it rained, it was seeping. And then he found a hole in the bathtub that was leaking through the hole in the bathtub, and it was causing water damage to the wall between the bathtub and the kitchen that was on the other side of it. And I was like, man, the agent didn't tell me any of this stuff. Like, what the heck? So it got me a little scared that I was like, okay, now we have to tear out plumbing. We have to tear out the bathtub. We have to tear apart that wall and figure out what the mold damage is. It has to replace the roof. That's a bigger remote flip than I want to do because I'm in Arizona. This is in Kentucky. And that was a bigger flip than I intended to want to take. And I was like, all right, I know I can still assign this for a profit because there's plenty of room in here. And let me see if I can find a buyer. So the first thing I did is I called the agent who went out there, and he was telling me about a client previously that was trying to find a rental property, and they had a budget for up to 150 grand to spend on a rental property, and this would be great for them. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can get down to 150 by the time I flip it, but it'll probably be in that 180 range. And he's like, cool, I think I already have a buyer for you once you flip it. So I called him and I said, hey, would your client that you were talking about be interested in it as is if I was able to get them this property for a really cheap price? And then, I'll be up front. It needs a roof, which I didn't expect, and it needs something with the bathroom there that needs to be fixed. I'll send you a copy of the inspection report if you want to take a look at it, cover it with your client, and then, we can go from there. I said, but since it needs that stuff, since they're going to have to put that work in, what if we did 125? And he was like, 125? Ooh, that's way below her budget. And I was like, okay. And that gives her room to fix the stuff that needs to be done to it and still be at that 150 or below number. And so he called her. He said, can I take her out there to look at it? I said, absolutely, take her to look at it. I had paid the homeowner to put a lockbox on it. If you ever have to do that, you can just send it through Amazon, or you can do an order pickup at like Lowe's or Home Depot. So anyways, I had got him, he put a lockbox on it. That's how the agent got in so easy. It was vacant because the guy was already living with his fiance at that time, but he still had stuff in the house. So that was access wise. If you're asking about access, how did we get in? That's how we got in, lockbox. So he took his client out there. She walked it. She loved it. She said, I'm ready, 125. I'm ready to send earnest money. And man, I'm going to have all these thumbs up and the Apple, right. She said, I'm ready to sign at 125. So I've still got it for 95. And this buyer is willing to buy it for 125. And so I was like, all right, perfect. I sent the assignment agreement. She signed the assignment agreement. She sent the money to title. How did you find title, Dana? This is a state you've never done a deal in before, which is correct. I asked the agent who I had go out there and do the photos for me, who would be the title company that you prefer to use. He gave me the title company. I called them, made sure they were assignment friendly. They said, absolutely, we can 100% do that. So we did the assignment through that title company, which was the agent referral. Everything went through smoothly at closing. I probably should have double closed this because a $30,000 assignment fee is on a price like this. So she was paying a $95,000 purchase price and a $30,000 assignment fee. She was fine with it because she was still getting such a good deal. And her intention was, I found out after the fact, was she was just going to rent it, which I knew that. But she was like, I'm not going to replace the roof. I'm just going to go tar that. I could get 10 more years out of this thing if I just tar up those holes. And all I'm really going to fix is like maybe a couple grand for that plumbing thing. And I'm just going to put this thing up for rent right away. And I'm like, great, right? That makes sense. If you're going to rent it, you could absolutely do that. If you were going to flip it and sell it, you couldn't have done it with that roof that was on there. You would have had to have changed it. So the economies of scale in her pricing changed dramatically. So she went from paying 150 and then maybe she was going to pay 150 for something completely done to now 125, putting maybe, again, a couple grand in closing, a couple grand in make ready. And now it's a cash flowing asset for her, which is friggin' awesome. So anyways, that's kind of the story of this one. So where did I find it? I found it off PPL. Where did I get the negotiation from and where did I get my price? I looked at Zestimate. I looked at recent sold comps. 180, 190 was absolutely the number. So getting it at 95. And again, I didn't even have to beat the guy up. I didn't never beat him up again from that point. He said I would go down to 95 and I was like, that's a fair deal. Let's do this. I actually did try at one point. I told him, I said, hey, did you know the roof actually was leaking? And he's like, yeah, well, I didn't know it was leaking, and I said, well, I need to get a price on that to see if, that's something we need to renegotiate or what. And he's like, well, I'm pretty sure I could get more for it than we agreed to. I kind of rushed into that. So I don't think I'm going to renegotiate any. I was like, well, let me see what the bid is. And then so I called him back the next day and I said, my bid's not that bad, or I'm just going to move forward at the 95. If I would have had the opportunity, I might have tried to squeeze him for another 5 or 10 before I knew that I had somebody at the 125, just to make it easier if I needed to. So anyways, that's where I found the deal. That's how I negotiated it. How did I get the photos? I called an agent in the area and that confirmed my price that I was going to get for on the back end, right? So what was my ARV? He sent me a list of comps. Like it was super easy on that. I did end up paying him a $1,250, so 1% agent referral on that because he brought me the buyer. So out of my 30 grand, I paid $1,250, whatever. That's an easy deal for it. How did I find the title company? It was a referral from the agent who went out and helped with finding the photos and finding the buyer. How did I find the buyer? I called the agent and just said, hey, would your buyer be interested in this? Now, could I have maybe got 130, maybe 135 if I put that out there for market to other people and tried to assign it? Maybe, but for a quick, easy, down and dirty, one phone call, one showing, here's a $30,000 assignment, I was totally fine with that and happy with it. Because again, this was my first PPL assignment. And I was just stoked and I was like, man, if it's this easy, I'm going to buy a million more of these leads. It's not necessarily that easy, but it gets easier the more that you go through. And PPL is a numbers game. You're going to go through a lot of trash before you get the one that's like, hey, this is a deal. And this was in a small town in Kentucky, right? It wasn't a big town. It was a small town in Kentucky, but networking and finding the right person to help with photos, comps, rehab if needed, finding a buyer, all that. That was tremendous value at the end of the day. So anyways, motivation. I don't think we talked about that too much, but it was just that he was already living with his fiance and he didn't have the time or energy or money to deal with this place. And he's like, I just want to move on to my life with her. Give me the 95 and we're good. Right? Give me the 95 and we're good. And so that's what we did. And that's how I made a $30,000 assignment fee off of a $75 PPL lead. And how I found it, how I negotiated, how I sold it, how I found title, and how I closed it. So hopefully that was a good video for you guys. Did you enjoy hearing the call? The total call is like 10 minutes and 34 seconds. I didn't figure you'd want to hear the whole call, just that little snippet that kind of gave that. If you guys want to hear more seller calls, let me know in the comments. If this was a good video and you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. If you guys want to check out PPL and start trying it yourself, check out the links in the description. There will be promo links and stuff in there. They are affiliate ones, so I get paid if you use those. Full disclosure, but I'm only referring the ones that I like. There's a few other ones that I've tried and I hated, and I will not refer for those ones, so I don't care if I get a little commission or not off of them. If they suck, I'm not going to refer them to you. If there's a affiliate link down there, it's one that I trust, one that I've used, and one that I've closed deals with, and am actively currently using. So anyways, thanks for watching the video. Subscribe to the channel, share the video if you enjoyed it, and later.